A brand new event for World of Tanks console is here, and today we're going to cover this new event which gives you a ton of XP that's coming tomorrow when this video goes live. And of course, if you're watching this in the next couple of days, it's probably already in the game, so take advantage of it and you're going to have a ton of XP that you can earn. We'll get into it now, but we've also got the typical stuff that we've got. We've got a look at some of the new map that is coming to World of Tanks console, and we can officially say it is actually new because it is not available on any of the World of Tanks console, PC or Blitz as we currently have, because it's a console exclusive map, or at least is at the moment. Whether they port it into PC, I doubt it, but you never know. Either way, let's get into the news and we'll talk about that later on, as well as some of the Q&A stuff that Wargaming have got. So hopefully it'll be interesting for you guys and you'll enjoy it. But either way, let's get straight into this XP event, which is coming tomorrow. So as soon as this event goes live in the morning, you are going to be able to earn a ton of XP, more than you normally would. And why is that? Well, the event, Hadron Collider, which is of course the one in Switzerland, I believe, the particle accelerator, is here to accelerate your XP earnings. That's a great pun by Wargaming, thank you. But you're seeing here, it's available for 1 week. So you got 1 week to take advantage of this. And essentially, since the Flames of War is actually over, there is the new challenge coming out. So it gives you a little bit of something extra for this season. And of course, if you've actually been able to grind out a decent chunk of the season so far, you'll have seen that you're able to get an additional XP bonus from getting to, I believe, something like a level 126 off the top of my head gives you an XP bonus, which is nice. So essentially what we have is the Hadron Collider event gives you XP based on a few different conditions. So for example, if you do 0.75 times your maximum health or more damage in a battle, you will get 25% more XP in every single battle. Now, this is not a kind of, restricted to 3 times a day. This is available consistently, so you can farm this really nicely. And where it starts to go really crazy is that you can see that gives you a 0.75 times your maximum health, and that gives you 25% more XP. If, for example, you deal 1 times your maximum health or more in damage, so for example, if you've got 1,000 hit points in your tank and you do 1,000 damage, you will have got the deal 1 times of your maximum health. But for example, if you get 2,000 damage in a 1,000 hit point tank, so you've dealt double the damage of your hit points, you will get 100% vehicle XP. So it's essentially double XP if you can consistently deal 2 times your maximum health. So this is available in every single game, and it is going to be quite nice for players that are just grinding through some of the tanks. And in fact, it's probably better for light tanks and tanks like that, which don't actually have that many hit points, which is good. And of course, that's going to give you a little bit of an incentive to actually play during this last week of the season. And it's kind of interesting that Wargaming do this. It's kind of like their last hurrah for this season. So that's always good. And of course, I'd highly recommend you actually start playing to take advantage of it, which is what I'll be doing on a live stream on Friday. So you can join me back on the live streams. We're getting back into it now, and hopefully you'll join me there. But aside from that, of course, this varies in stages. You can do 1.5 times damage, you'll get 75% XP, and essentially it's just based off of, how much damage you deal relative to the amount of hit points that your tank has. And of course, hopefully that'll be interesting for some of you guys. It isn't as good as the string theory operation, or even better, the XP with interest operation. But if you can consistently deal a decent chunk of damage, it is an additional XP bonus that's going to be massive for grinding through some of those tanks and save you a lot of time. But more importantly, what is the new map that is coming to the game? Well, we can have a look on the World of Tanks console official Discord, where they highlight all of the news and intel and stuff like that. And essentially what we've got here is this is what they ran down on the stream. So we named the community map, so it was done a live vote during the stream, and by the skin of its name, Azure Coast was our winner. We also showed off some of the art pass that has been happening behind the scenes. So Azure Coast is what they're going to call the new map. and essentially that will be coming in at some point, maybe next season. We don't know, it might be the season after, because of course this is a map that you can see right here. This is what it's going to look like, where you've got this town area, you've got all of these areas which you can essentially see, and the community map has been in development for a little while, and this is going to be what it is at the end of it. So it'll be interesting to see whether this new map is any good, and whether you guys actually enjoy it. You can see the lighthouse in here, kind of symbolizing, you know, that cliff area like we do with the map cliff. Not that it's going to be the same, but either way, it should be pretty cool to see. So those are kind of the sneak preview pics that they've given as to what this map is going to look like. Looks like you've got some form of road down here, or at least a promenade or something like that. You've got the pine trees, you've got this area here. Looks like you can actually go up in this location. And yeah, I don't know if this is actually a cap circle that they've drawn around, or whether this is something else. So maybe there's a cap in here. Don't know, for encounter battle, I don't know. Maybe it's just an art thing that they've done at the minute. And so yeah, it looks like a pretty decent one. And if we jump to this map, you can see that you've got loads of valleys that you've got in the distance, but you've also got these kind of channels at which you're going to be going in and fighting in the town area, which is here. So overall, I think it's got its potential, but we'll have to really play it and see whether the map is actually any good, because you never really know until you start playing it massively within the game. So usually what happens is when they release the map as well, they like up the weighting of the map so you get it more often, because it's a new map, you want to test it out. So hopefully they'll do that with this next one. Now, that isn't the only thing this week. We also have a little bit of extra information. And that next bit of information is, of course, that the Wargaming are going to be working with Mark Grauer to bring back the pirate to life, because they're bringing in the Jolly Roger, getting his own voice over, which is, of course, Mark Grauer being the person who I think voiced about 1 million different characters over the time, and in fact was part of things like Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, I believe. It was various different voice actors within that, and of course has done Mario, that sort of stuff. There's loads of things that he's voiced overed for, and of course his latest, or at least one of the newer things that he's done, is of course do this pirate within World of Tanks console, which is interesting, and of course we'll be getting that as part of the 3D Commander, which is yeah, interesting to say the least. And you can see it here. This is the Jolly Roger voiceover coming to the character, which you'll be able to pick up, I'm sure, for a nice little hefty price. But either way, with that out of the way, we've also then got some questions that I want to run through, because Wargaming's questions are always interesting, and some of the responses aren't necessarily what we'd like to hear, but some of them sometimes are. So let's have a look at what they've got. So first one is, how is the Sturm Tiger line performing, and would they possibly get any changes in the future? So far they're saying that they're doing well, but some of them will be getting attention and love in a future update. I'm looking at you, BAR, or the bar. Yeah, hopefully that tier 9 tank destroyer gets a little bit of a buff, because at the minute it's kind of useless, along with the Sturm Tiger P being pretty mundane, which is the one that I'm currently on, and I'm not looking forward to actually getting the next tank, which is debatably even worse. But of course, hopefully we'll be seeing some changes to the Sturm Tiger line, so that the derp German tank destroyers can feel a little bit less annoying. I know the lower tier stuff is actually pretty decent, so I'd recommend doing all of that and then kind of stopping before they buff them, until they buff them, and then start playing some of the other vehicles higher up on the tier. But other than that, is there any way to make the autocannon functional on the MBT 70? So yes, this one is currently in line to get this added as a secondary weapon, and it will receive it later this year, making the MBT 70 actually maybe a little bit decent. I know it's been kind of power crept, and it wasn't even very good in the beginning, so it'll be nice to see that one actually getting a little bit of a buff, or at least an additional extra to the tank. So it will be getting a secondary weapon, which is cool. Is it possible to alter the light tank matchmaking for Cold War? I think we need more detail of what's being asked here, but if it's to do with making sure there's the same amount of light tanks on each team, which I'm assuming was the question, it is something we're keeping an eye on, and there might be some improvements in the future, so it's kind of a vague answer. They may or may not change it. Thanks for Wargaming for clarifying. I'm not surprised. They very rarely give you a definitive answer. Could the Sheridan in Cold War possibly have some adjustments made to it? So the Sheridan is actually performing very well at the moment, and we don't have any plans for any updates to this tank. So the Sheridan in Cold War, I think, is a pretty decent one. But overall, they're saying that they're not going to do a whole lot about it in terms of balancing it even more. When will we get light tanks with some speed in Cold War Era 3? There are more light tanks on the way, but we can't give any details on when that will be. But there's even some with very large guns. That's never a good sign when they start giving huge guns to tiny tanks that can roll around at, 90 kilometers an hour. Didn't end up very well. I'm not looking at you, Weasel Toe. Let's just hope that they actually balance them a little bit more than that tank was, because I think that angered quite a few Cold War players, to say the least. Anyway, why are some maps adjusted to appear more often than others? Generally at the launch of the new season, or when we bring a map back, we do set the weighting to increase for those maps for a while, so this is what I was saying about earlier. Well, we have been fine-tuning how long these maps should be increased in frequency for, and I believe we've come to a commitment going forward that a single week having increased frequency makes the most sense. I agree, I think it's nice. I don't think you need to spam it down our throats for months, so that would be good. I know we had an issue with map weighting recently, but to my knowledge that was fixed, so that's cool. Can we get some camouflage and emblems for players that participate in tournaments to show off their hard work and efforts? There is a ticket to follow up on and think about this more. I think this would be a good idea. This is once again what I was saying, and I always have been saying, is that they need to produce some more cosmetic stuff that players can get for free by dedicating time on the game, which of course gets them more hooked on the game, and is something that I think is undervalued, rather than just making more and more overpriced premium tanks, removing premium tanks from sale, putting them into bundles, pricing them up, and then not giving them as much of a discount as we previously had. Yeah, I don't know where that came from. Sorry, no idea. But yeah, I would highly recommend them giving some actual stuff and value to the players rather than just spamming premium tanks, as there's only so many premium tanks people will buy until they get fed up of getting just purely bored off the core game itself. So yeah, hopefully Wargaming will do something about that and we'll see it updated. Maybe get some extra emblems and just a system for challenges that's a little bit more interesting in terms of the long term rather than the season challenges, because we all know what they're like. Oh look, deal 50,000 damage over the course of a week, deal 1,000 hit XP 35 times, get 1 kill in 35 games. Very interesting challenges. Yeah, they are very boring and they don't really make you play in any way that you wouldn't already just play the game. Yeah, I highly think that they should keep them like that, but also there should be challenges that are more interesting and, give you some sort of reward. It doesn't have to be an OP premium or anything like that. We don't want 279Es rolling around in the same state that they were in PC, but it would be nice to see some sort of reward vehicles or stuff like that you can only get by actually playing the game and playing the game to a decent standard or completing cool challenges. That's what I think. Anyway, can we get consider platoon-based operations to return? We will talk with the events teams, and I know we do run them from time to time, so we'll have to see if they have some planned in for the future. I think this is quite a niche thing for a lot of players that play the game. I have no idea if people platoon. I mean, for me personally, I very rarely platoon up, and maybe that's an overgeneralization that a lot of people probably don't platoon, which is where they would be better off kind of. And there's no real way of platooning up with teammates or people that you've never met for people who are just solo players and they want to take advantage of these operations. So it's kind of one of those things where there isn't a looking for group that's dedicated to World of Tanks console within the game. I think you have to go to external websites, stuff like that, which is just a pain. You shouldn't really have to do that. And whether it would even get used in the game anyway, the looking for group system, as PC's one basically doesn't get used at all. Yeah, I don't know. And so it is what it is. Yeah, let me know what you think about this. Would you like to see more platoon-based operations, or would it be more interesting to have platoon-based challenges that you can do over the course of your career to pick up extra stuff? You know, it doesn't have to be, yet again, it probably shouldn't be tanks that you can pick up by platooning, but maybe customizations. There are a large amount of World of Tanks players from Poland, so when can we expect some Polish tanks in Cold War mode? They are coming and they are planned. It's just a matter of getting them into the schedule, by which, you know, Wargaming only have so many resources and they usually typically feature the biggest lines first, like the biggest player bases, and then kind of trickle down effect where, you know, you start getting the more obscure nations throughout the game and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just a case of building up the initial tech trees that they've done, which are like the USA, the French and stuff like that. I'm expecting that they'll start slowly creeping in other nations that we have in like the World War II mode into Cold War. They just want to fill out everything else, which kind of makes sense into batching them into little things. So yeah, it'd be cool to get some more Polish tanks though, for sure. When we add something in custom games like extra speed, gravity, etc., in custom games, we would love to open the floodgates and allow players to have the ability to change the core game. There's certainly things we'd love to do maybe next year. We're thinking of many elements that may lend themselves to custom games. This, once again, would be cool if we just had event game modes that Wargaming just made, and that way they can kind of dedicate servers to them, and they're not having to kind of get this high velocity of traffic into custom games, which is what I'm assuming is the problem with like server bandwidth and stuff like that, and creating dedicated servers, well, kind of semi-permanent ones for custom games. Yeah, and it just allows players to kind of get into games where they can have certain elements like that, which I think would be cool. When can we expect to see Sand River and Abbey in Cold War? In Sand River, the spawn locations were very easy to see each other in True Vision, so that's already a no. Abbey, on the other hand, I do think it's viable in Cold War, so we can think a bit further on that. I mean, for the most part, Abbey is a pretty small map that you don't really need the True Vision anyway, because most of the time you're just going to spot whatever it is, and there is no clear line of sight instantly, and there could, and I mean, even if there is, there's something you could do to just slightly tweak it, so I think that would be cool. Is there any chance that we could buy keycards as a gift to someone else? Possibly. We could see if that's something we could look into, but no firm commitments on this. This would be cool. I think that would, I'm surprised that isn't already a feature, to be honest with you, but yeah, that's what it is. And is there any chance we could get the Jungle Garage back? Possibly. I will say there's a new garage coming in the next season, so look out for that. So they're updating the garage in the next season. And of course, you can get the old style garage and also the new style garage if you're interested by going into the settings menu, I believe, and you're able to change what garage you have, which is why on my videos you see the old style garage and maybe not the newer one, so long as that still exists, I believe. Anyway. Moving forward, this is the Jolly Roger VO or voiceover coming next week. So this is what it looks like. I will play the clip just so that you guys... it's literally just the voiceover anyway. So that startled me a little bit. It was so loud and I've got it turned down to like minimum. But yeah, it is basically a 3D Commander update that you can use in your own game if you want to purchase it, and I expect it'll be on sale. So yeah, either way, hopefully that was a decent news video. It was kind of shorter than some of them, but yeah, let me know what you think of all of the new content. And of course, we've had the Iron Maiden kind of challenges, events, and all of that sort of jazz recently. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section down below. Other than that, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day, and if you have any questions, just ask them away, and I'm sure either me or someone else, one of you guys, might help. Hopefully you'll see me in one of these videos on screen where you can look at either playlist, and I'll see you there. Goodbye.